Let's just go ahead and talk about what's really going on out there right now. Hiring sucks right now. It's awful. It's a mess. I don't like it. And getting good quality people on the team and filtering through when a whole bunch of people were fighting to get the job was hard. When they're not fighting to get the job anymore and you're still having to filter through, and you still want to get the work done that they're not there to do. That's why I'm freaking hiring. This is a pain. And so I got to tell y'all, we're having the same experience that you're having. I mean, we had on the board to hire 300 people this year. We're going to do really good to get to 200. And we had to back up 2 or 3 times and make a decision, because one of the things that's happening, depending on the space that you're in, is people are paying signing bonuses to get people to move. And we made a philosophical decision. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm not mad at you. We're experimenting in this space, this problem, fighting this complex business issue, this supply-demand of labor curve being off like you are. And we just decided that if the only reason they're coming to work for us and joining our team is a signing bonus, that's probably not a long-term play for them. And we're going to pass. Well, that means we can't hire as many. Some people are paying signing bonuses, particularly. We've got a lot of technology team and a lot of technology teams. Some of our technology teams left because somebody will write them a $50,000 signing bonus and pay them, another 50 grand or 60 grand a year more than the position actually was paying just a few months ago. And some of these tech jobs are just out of control, and we can't ROI it. We can make money on the work that they're doing now, the way they're paid now, but if we go up another 50 grand and have to pay them an extra 50 grand just to hang around, somebody got confused about who owned the business at this point. And so we just said no. Now what it means is we've got some pain. You got to choose your pain, in other words. Are you going to buy people and hire them off the street? And, basically you've got mercenaries at this point. You don't have people that are crusaders. You don't have people that want to be there. They're there for the money. That's it. And they will leave for the money, and they're, going to treat you like they're doing you a favor by joining your team. And I'd rather not. I'd rather be smaller. I'd rather just not get some of the work done. And so we've made the decision to continue our normal hiring processes and our normal pay scales that are market pay, but not market pay plus I've lost my damn mind, and I'm not going to do that. If you want to do that, you can, but I'm not going to compete with you. You'll get some of my people, and you'll get some of the people I would have gotten, and that's fine. What I'm trying to say is they're not people I wanted. I didn't want them on our team. If the only reason you're coming over here is a signing bonus, then you got the wrong Ramsey. You got the wrong deal. So that's a decision we've made. You may or may not take that stance, and I won't be mad at you if you don't do that. But I am not. We are really, really, really good to our team. We pay a lot of money. We market and more. We bonus out of profits. We make a lot of money. We're very unbelievably grace-filled when they're in a situation. We've got one lady on the team that hasn't been at work in 2.5 years. She's been fighting cancer, and we paid her full boat the entire time. We love our people. We are good to our people. And we don't hesitate to do that, and I don't regret doing that, but I'm not going to get in this thing where you're doing me a favor by me giving you a job. I guess I'm old school. You can call me a boomer. You can, whatever you want to do, but I'm just not going to do that. That's not the play I'm going to make or we're going to make inside of Ramsey, and we've made that conscious decision. But admittedly, there's some pain that goes with that, because I got some projects that are just sitting that we would like to do right now, and we just simply don't have the staff to do it, because we're not going to add the wrong kind of staff, because when we add the wrong kind of staff, you can take 10% of your team and change it, and it changed the whole company's culture. Bad. You can inject 10 people that are doofuses and that misbehave and are crazy and are there for all the wrong reasons, and they can influence the other 90 if you take 10 people out of 100 in there, and you'll shift the whole thing, and it'll take you a decade to get it back and rebuild it. I'd rather not. I'm going to choose my pain. My pain is we're going to continue to have a great culture, and it's going to take us longer to do some of the stuff that we want to do because we simply can't find the people that line up with who we are to join us in a reasonable, fair fashion where they understand that they work for us, we don't work for them. Now, we serve them, we're servant leaders, we're not being jerks about this, but at the end of the day, I'm the guy who signed the check, and you work here. And so you're not going to tell me what to do. I don't care if you're a snowflake or what you are. That's not how it works. Okay, so now you may choose to do that differently. We've had some really healthy arguments inside of our organization, disagree with that, but at the end we have decided as a group, and my influence on that has been substantial, that we're going to, but I mean, we're just not going to do it. It's just old school. I'm not going to do it. And, you can do work from home, or as Elon Musk says, not work from home if you want, and there's a lot of you doing that, and that's fine if you want to. We've made the decision to not do that, and we've lost some people to do that because they can go not work from home. I actually had a guy resign 2 weeks ago, and in his exit interview, he said, we're having our first baby, and I want to be around the baby. And I want to be able to go up to my relatives for weeks at a time in another state and spend time with them. I want quality time while we're a young family. And I went, okay, so let me get this right. When is it you're working? While you're on vacation at your relatives? When is it you take a little time off during the day and pick on the computer for an hour, and you call that giving 8 hours? No, you're stealing is what you're doing. You're not working from home is what you're doing. There's actually a Wall Street Journal article 2 weeks ago, and the guy said he really was struggling. He took the work from home because it helped him get his laundry done, which means he's at home doing laundry instead of working. I'm so confused by this. So it is truly not work from home. And we've also seen a thing in the tech world, and I'll get to the lesson in a minute after I finish just rambling, but tech world, because the tech world you can freelance. I mean, you can write code, right? So we ran into, not one of our guys, but we ran into an actual case where a tech guy, a code guy, a software engineer that's writing code was working from home for 3 companies. $200K plus a pop, taking his code on one of the 3, farming it out to a guy in India, writing the code, turning it back into him. He's checking the code and turning it in as if he did it. He's working for 3 companies from home, and he is not working 12, 14 hours a day, I can promise you. He's just collecting a check from 3 different people because he's work from home. So, guys, that's just akin to theft as far as I'm concerned. That's just a thief. And so that's not, if I'm hiring you out as a contractor and you do that, you work for yourself. You can do whatever you want to. You can have as many clients as you want. If I'm going to contract with you to write code, then you write the code. I pay you for the code. I'm not paying you by the hour, and I don't have you on as an employee with full benefits and all this crap. But this joker was taken from 3 different companies and not even doing the work on one of them, farming it out himself. Well, that's really creative. No, it's thieving. It's creative thieving is what it is. So this is going to flip back, and it's just a matter of time till it all settles out, just like some of the other supply chain issues. Labor is a supply chain issue that got disrupted from COVID, just like lumber did, just like everything else. And when the settling of the Trump/Biden bucks, it wasn't just Biden that gave out Biden bucks, in other words, but when the government quits writing checks to people to not work, then they'll get back to work, and it'll even out after time. And then we get into this crap of quiet quitting. Have you heard this one? It's a TikTok thing. So I'm going to not work while I'm at work, and that's my protest against the man. So we went ahead and announced to our team that we will institute quiet firing to go with the quiet quitting. So there's a cause and effect thing here. So I don't know. It's just a thing. Look, if we're going to be on the same team, we're pulling together, we're trying to get a thing done together here, you're supposed to be doing that rather than trying to figure out some way to screw us. That's what it comes down to. And I'm not going to fight with you if you want to screw us. I'm just going to fire you. And we'll move on. I got other stuff to do, and if we can't get our work done because of that, then we can't get our work done. We have never had all the staff we've wanted ever in 30 years. We have always been looking for more people the entire time. I feel like I've been trying to catch a tidal wave with a teacup the entire time. I've always had more opportunity than we could get people, and we had the money, and we had the technology base and everything else to go get it done. We've always had more that we could do. We've never had enough. And so this is no difference. This is just particularly painful, and it's a little bit aggravating, too, because of the attitude around some of it. So, with that said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to hire people like us. So one of our operating board members, Luke, went down to the tire store and went in. There's 2 tire stores next to each other, true story. Basic retail tire stores. I won't give you the brands, but they're both national franchise brands or company store brands. And he goes in one, and it looks like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's all dark and dingy, and the guy's sitting back there on a broken chair. And he goes, have you got, tires for my Jeep? And the guy looked around the desk at the Jeep out in the parking lot without even getting out of his chair. He goes, yeah, I got 1 tire for that. And he rolls out this puny little tire that doesn't even look like it fits on a Jeep. And Luke's like, okay, I don't think I will be there. He said, the other place is always looking like it's busy and looking like they're having a party over there. I felt sorry for these people because they never gained business. Now I know why. So he walks off. He goes to the place next door. They put the tires on his Jeep. And there's a thing, if you don't know, on Jeeps, there's a Jeep death rattle. They'll just on you. And so he's going down the highway, and sure enough, it comes back. The rattle's there again. And so he gets home, and he's like, well, I'll take it back tomorrow. And then he realizes there's one of the same tire store brand in his neighborhood. He goes over there on Saturday, but he didn't go until after lunch, and it was like 4 o'clock, and the guy goes, well, we close at 4:30, and there's 40 people in front of you in line on this, and we're trying to get them all out. He said, I'll try to get to it, but I don't know if I can or not. And he goes, oh, it's okay. I'll just take it up. And he goes, no, give me 15 minutes. Let me see what I can do. Just let me try. And so he sits down, and a few minutes, the guy comes back and goes, hey, man, it was one little thing. We found it. We tightened it up. It was one little thing. They just scooped up one thing on the install. And he goes, we got it fixed. And he goes, it's all done. You're all good. And he goes, so what's the charge? He goes, oh, no charge. They should have done it right at the other store. No problem. And he goes, the guy at the other store was just like you. He goes, both of you were so upbeat and service-oriented. He goes, we could open all the stores we want to open, but we never open a store until we find people like us. And he's like, what's that? I want one of those. Like people like us. And he goes, people that care about the customer, people that go the extra mile, people that will get things done. And he goes, we don't grow, we don't add more stores until we can find management team, leadership team going into that store that are people like us. And he said, we've got opportunity to open stores a lot of places right now. They're just sitting and waiting, but we haven't been able to find people like us. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. That's where we are. People are your biggest asset, and they're your biggest expense. Or your largest line item. We talked about that earlier. You look at your payroll, and you look at it as a line item in your P&L, and you're going to see in almost every one of your businesses, unless you have tremendous cost of goods sold, which would be a different line item than the P&L anyway, but if you get into this, you're going to see your biggest dog number is your profit or your payroll taken out of your profit. And so you've got to make a return on that investment mathematically or you're out of business. And you can't let the tail wag the dog. That's what I was talking about earlier. Proper hiring creates a good team. A good team lowers turnover. And what we were saying earlier with the Q&A section here is this. I found out that you can't mix thoroughbreds and donkeys. You get a thoroughbred in there, these are people that are people like us. They go for it. They're getting it done. They're excellent. Their skill level is high. Their people skills are high. They're good to work with. They're good people. You get those people in there and you get them mixed with people who go, take it easy, and they mean it. And they don't like hanging around each other, and you're going to create turnover just by the nature of the team being a mixed team between thoroughbreds and donkeys. So you cannot sanction incompetence. You cannot leave these people in place who are not functioning because your thoroughbreds don't want to work in that environment. They don't want to hang around with people who have nasty lives, nasty mouths, who are nasty, bad at their job. They're lazy. They don't give a crap. Nobody wants to hang around those people that are good, solid people like me, people like us. And so you're looking for these thoroughbreds that'll step in and join, and you got it. I used to just hire, I thought if you hired somebody that had the skill, that's all it took. And it turns out the skill that's just a tenth of the process. Can you actually do the job? Do you have the skills to do the coding? Do you have the skills to do the publicity work? Do you have the skills to do the content work, the editing? Do you have the skills to do the audio production? Do you have the skills? Skills are pretty much everywhere. You can find people with skills, but finding people with skills that are quality human beings, now that's a bit of a chore. And right now, as we said, it's even a bigger chore. Turnover is expensive and it deflates morale. So we've had more turnover percentage-wise in the last 36 months than we've ever had in 30 years. And, part of it was COVID stuff, part of it was the Great Resignation, and part of it was everything else. So we lost about 25 people when we came back to work after 60. We were out 7 weeks. We were out 7 weeks for quarantine, and then we came back to work, and we were one of the first companies in the area to come back to work. And we told folks, come back as quick as you can. We had some folks that their kids were out of school still, and they didn't have child care, so we had to be graceful with that, and that's fine. And we had some people who had people at home that were vulnerable, and they were afraid to be around the public and take something back home and kill somebody at home, and they wanted some, yeah, sure, for a while we'll go along with that. And for the first week, we said it's just voluntary anyway, first week, but voluntarily 88% of our people came back the first day, as soon as they could, as soon as we opened the door. And, but we had some folks that it scared them because we weren't requiring anything. We did the CDC cleaning, but we weren't requiring masks. This was before vaccinations even came up, really. We weren't requiring temperature check at the door, and we had people just scared to death. They were just freaking out, and they quit. And that's okay. I understand. You can do that. I mean, we're working. We're looking at the same data that you're looking at. Our infection rate among 1,000 people inside the building is lower than the infection rate of the entire county, and the entire county was the lowest in Tennessee, and Tennessee was one of the lowest infection rates in the nation. So, this is the data that we're looking at. But the newspaper runs articles, Dave Ramsey trying to kill his employees and all this, and so, which is kind of interesting because, I kind of need their help. Why would I kill them? But it's just so strange to me. But this is a newspaper, but then people get all upset, and so I think we had 25 or 30 probably quit during that season. And then when we had this kind of existential crisis that Coleman's been talking about a lot, where people came back to work and they just realized, wait a minute, I don't like my life. When I was at home, I realized I don't like my life. I'm going to change everything because, when death faces you and you think you're going to die, and apparently everybody thought they were going to die there for a few minutes, and so they said, that was new too, but we're going to die. But anyway, the fact that we're going to die apparently right now, that woke some people up. And they said, I don't like what I do with my life. And so this big shift, and we've had this huge, massive resignation nationwide. Our resignation rate during the Great Resignation has been much lower than the national average, but the highest we've ever seen. And as Joe said, it's frustrating because people leave companies. But I understand. It's okay. We're going to do being kind and serving and concerned about our team. We're going to do the right thing for them and for the customers, and then we're going to let the chips fall where they fall. And if you can't deal with that, you're not a we anymore, because this is what we are going to do. And it's sad. Broke our hearts. And so that's what's happened. So then the last wave has been the work from home stuff, which I think of the three is the most aggravating. But for me anyway. I understand if you think you're going to die and you come in the building and get sick or something. I get that. I didn't agree with it, but I understand that. And I understand the existential crisis, like, whoa, I need to re-examine everything. There's a God. Yeah, there's everything. You look at everything, right? My children are prettier or not. And so, everything's different after. I kind of get that. Re-examine your life after a crisis. I kind of get that. That makes sense. But this socialist crap, I just want to work from home and not work, is driving me nuts. Okay, so that one's I'm bothered. But all three of them have impacted us. Aside from those things, that's just culture, and that's leadership making principled decisions based on who we are. You may make the exact opposite decision. We'll still be friends. I'm not mad at you. You're not on my payroll. I'm not on yours. You can do whatever you want. It's okay. So we're there. We can. But aside from that, just general turnover. If there's a lot of turnover, people think there must be something wrong, even if there's not something wrong, just because there's turnover. And so turnover that is not related to something like those three different events there that are not cultural things, culture-wide things, country-wide, worldwide things, then that changes everything. So we used to call it in the real estate business, we call it shop worn when I was selling real estate as a kid. You put a house on the market, if it doesn't sell, eventually it won't sell just because it didn't sell. People look at it and go, well, that house hasn't sold. Must be something wrong with it. Nothing wrong with a stupid house. But you change the price, change the realtor, and cut the bushes down, house will sell in 20 minutes. Because there was nothing, they call it shop worn. It had been on the market too long and it had worn it out. And turnover, it's a false perception of the reality. You're making assumptions based on the fact it hadn't sold. And people see the turnover and they go, oh, well, something must be wrong and I'm the only one that doesn't know. So they start looking for a job. There must be something wrong that these other people all left and they know something I don't know. It's like everybody gets up and starts walking towards one door. Everybody assumes that door is bad. And it's just because the first dude went out that door, you know? But that's human nature to herd up like that and to follow if you're not careful. So you really want to watch your turnover for that reason. So team members leave or are most often let go because they never should have been hired in the first place. Another thing that we did wrong is that we got, at one point in our company's history, we got too excited about the work we were doing, and we were trying to fill the spot at all costs, and we brought in people. We relaxed our standards too much and started bringing in people just to get the work done. We didn't go quite that far, like where we were just hiring bodies and stuff, but we went further that way than we'd ever gone, and we paid for it. We looked up, and our turnover among people that have been there 18 months to 2 years was the highest it had ever been in the company's history during that period of time, too. And we said, okay, what's happening there is we're hiring someone that just wants a job, and as soon as they find something else, as soon as they find another job, they just hit the door. And I don't want to spend all my time hiring. Drive me nuts. I'm just trying to build a team to get the work done. Just stopping everything and go hire again because I did it wrong the first time. You know, your mother said, always do it right the first time or you'll get to do it again. Well, hiring is definitely that way. And so we want to do this. So we found out one of the things that helped us break loose and get the right kind of people on the team was we would always say, now, so-and-so, in leadership we'd be talking about something, we'd talk about a certain team player, and we go, this team member, that guy gets it. That gal, she gets it. And we all kind of knew what that meant, but nobody had ever put it into good words. The only thing was they get it. If this one doesn't get it, this one gets it, you know? They fit in, they got the right stuff, they're people like us. What does that mean? And my friend Pat Lencioni put words to it, and it really helped us because it nailed it. There's a great book of his anything he writes is great. This is my favorite one he's ever done. It's called The Ideal Team Player. And in The Ideal Team Player, he says your ideal team players are hungry, humble, and smart. They're people smart. They're humble. It's not all about them. It's about getting the job done. It's not they're not like, oh, I have no confidence. No, they're other-centered. That's what humble means. And so they're humble and they're people smart and they're hungry. They're ambitious to get things done. If they're any one of those and they're not the other two, they're a disaster. A hungry person who's not humble, oh, geez, they'll cause all kinds of trouble, right? A humble person who's not hungry, that's called lazy most of the time. Or at least just real chill and doesn't move much stuff around, right? And so on. You can kind of get the idea. So hungry, humble, and smart. Or if they're humble and they're hungry, but they're not people smart, they just kind of make messes, relational messes in every room on every project. And you can't figure out why everybody's pissed off, but the only common denominator is that guy's in the room. And so hungry, humble, and smart is a good model that we've used a lot. I recommend that book highly. If you're joining us, still, even though we need people and even though they seem to have the upper hand, the labor market is thin, we still are going through 6 to 15 interviews to join Ramsey. Because we figured out one interview is a joke. A donkey can dress up like a thoroughbred and fool you for 1 or 2 interviews. They look just like a thoroughbred. But if you'll hang out with them in that third interview, have a cup of coffee, maybe at the coffee shop, something a little less formal, you'll be sitting there talking and they'll go, yeah. You go, I heard that. They'll slip something and you go, well, tell me more about that. They eventually let their guard down because anybody can dress up for a little bit. But if you spend enough time with them to actually get to know the person, you will determine if they're people like us, if they're hungry, humble, smart. Are they going to fit in the culture? Are they a long-term team member, potentially? Likely. We're not going to have turnover with this person. We're not buying them off the street, and that means the next guy that comes along is going to buy them off of us. And because I don't want to get in this bidding war for something like that. So we're not playing that. So it's 6 to 15 interviews to get on with us. And I got to tell you, there's people right now, I got leaders that have projects on the table that they can't do, and they're frustrated with this right now. And our only other option is put the wrong people in there and maybe turn the whole culture. And we've got such a good culture and such a good place, and we all love it. And I'm just not going to screw it up because we're desperate. I'm just not going to be that weak. And so we're gritting our teeth and having the pain of fighting through this, but it's real. So until you're a company of 50 or so people, you personally ought to talk to them. You don't have to do the only interview. I don't want you to do the primary interview. I don't want you to do the initial interview. But at some point in the process, you ought to talk to them. And there's key positions. Until we were like 150, 200 people, we never had a single receptionist that I didn't interview, because that's the first impression, on the phone and when they walk in. She's the best salesman on the team. She's setting your brand tone at that front desk. And we actually answer the phone at our place. That's how we do it. So when you come in and you meet Janelle Doyle right now, she is everybody. She's June Cleaver, man. She's everybody's mom, everybody's grandmother, whatever you want to call her. And we bake cookies in the lobby in the gift shop every day, so that you got home-baked cookie smell when you walk in, and you meet Janelle, and you're just like, well, this is not corporate America, because by God, it's not. And you need a signal of that as soon as you walk in our door. So, yeah. But Janelle has been at that front desk for 7 years. She knows Ramsey stories. She can walk you through a tour and tell you story after story after story of our products and things that we failed at. She could probably teach this lesson. I mean, she's a stud. She's incredible. What a woman. And so, man, she's amazing. But I interviewed those. I actually did not interview Janelle. I knew her, but she was internal, and they said they were going to move her to that, and I said, that'll work. But key positions like that are going to have an impact on your brand, even as you get bigger, you're going to want to at least be one of the players that is tied into that. We've got an initiative to activate our fans right now, and I wanted to be in the interview to bring that person in that's going to run that whole initiative, because that's going to be that's a major play right there as the marketing world is shifting out here right now. So HR at Ramsey does not hire people. They recruit them, and they'll do 1 or 2 of the interviews. They do not have the power to make the hire. HR at Ramsey does not fire people. They do not have the leader is the only person. The leader and the HR committee can make a decision to look at someone and go, this person's time here is up. But HR does not have that kind of power at our place. Their job is to help us get the people in recruiting, and then help us with the screening process, assist us, obviously, in the paperwork and all the HR things that we get to do, from 401ks to benefits and all the other stuff. You got to get signed up for all that stuff. But and they're really, really good at that, and they're really good at recruiting. But they're frustrated right now. The recruiters are all frustrated right now. And so, but the leader needs to make the decision, because otherwise you've corporatized. These are people, and these people, when you bring them on, they bring all of their good and their bad with them. And they're going to infect your place with their good, and they're going to infect your place with their bad. And so this is not a transaction. This is people joining your family. You're a small business. By definition, there's going to be just a few of you, a few of us. And so we've got to get this right, and this is how we look at it. When posting a position, word it in such a way that it attracts the personality and the character traits that you're looking for, so candidates can rule themselves out. You may not fit in here. And if you don't fit in, that's okay. It's good to know that before you quit your other job, before you move cities, for God's sakes, and before we pay for your move from another city. We'd like to know that. This is, you need to get into this. So 12 components of a good hire. Number one, we pray. We're people of faith, and so we say, God, send us who you need us to have to get the work done that you gave us to do. And Father, would you please keep your crazy children away? Because Lord knows some of your children are the craziest on the planet. Nothing as crazy as a crazy Christian. So, because they quote your scripture while they're being crazy. So, my brothers and sisters, oh my goodness. Number two, get referrals about the person. Thoroughbreds run with thoroughbreds. This is where we get our best hires. We are still hiring about 40% of our hires from internal referrals. So you get 2 or 3 or 4 thoroughbreds. If you're in a trade, if you're, the young man is a home builder up or doing rehab work, he's dealing with the trades. And you get a trim carpenter. They know other trim carpenters that are good ones, and they know who the bad ones are. You get some people like that on your staff. The developer world, the tech world it's a small community in a way. A lot of them know each other at different places, and they know who to stay away from. That guy's a bad dude, man. He cannot keep his hands off of other people of the opposite sex. Keep him out of your building. They'll tell you, man. So tell your team. This is your team, guys. If you want us to have the environment that we have, treat this business like you own it. It's one of our core values. Treat it like you're self-employed. And we will pay you $500 to send your friends that are thoroughbreds and help us keep your friends that are idiots out of here. If you see one wandering through the lobby with a tie on, they might be interviewing. Let us know. Oh, I know that guy. You don't want that guy in here. He's got issues. Good. Okay, I want to know that. Because, man, this is the best filter system on the planet. And we'll pay them $500 if the thoroughbreds will bring their own friends that are thoroughbreds. Oh, by the way, if they're technology thoroughbreds, we'll pay them $2,000. And then we stand up in staff meeting on Monday morning, and the people who got the bounty, after they have to stay 90 days before we give them the bounty. But we stand up, and everybody's getting $500 stands up, and they've all got their $500 or they got their $2,000, and I stand on stage, and we count it, and we go, okay, thoroughbreds, thanks for bringing in other thoroughbreds. Let's see how that pays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big Benjamin Franklins. It's a good reminder. Every 2 weeks we do this, right? And go, this is everybody that got paid. And there's 10 or 15, 20 people standing out there just got some money for bringing their friends, which is the greatest filter system in the world, I think. I wish I could get all mine from that, but I haven't been able to. It's about 40% of our hires right now come that way. Do your initial interview as a quick 30-minute drive-by interview. My first HR director was a genius. He taught me so much about this. By the way, if you are in Trailblazer Pathfinder area and you're running about 50 to 75 people right in there, I hired my first HR director at 80 people. I should have hired him at 50. Not because HR runs our company, but because he smoothed everything out and saw systems and processes that were broken that he fixed, and it helped us so much easier onboard people, helped lower turnover. He was a genius, a wonderful guy. He retired with us. He worked for us 17 years and then retired. And Rick Perry is his name. And he's just a wonderful guy. But he taught me this. He said, quit doing these, because I'm a salesman. I'll bring somebody and talk to them. I'll just talk to them until they decide to come on board. 24 hours later, we're all sitting there drinking coffee. And, I just keep them until they decide to join. I just keep, I just talk 2 hours, 3-hour interviews. I mean, I won't shut up. And they ain't said nothing yet. I'm still talking the whole time. It's awful. I'm the worst interviewer ever. So our team quit letting me interview to start with, and he goes, Dave, you're doing this all wrong in so many ways, but here's one thing we could do to fix it. Let's just do a 30-minute interview. You don't need to do those because you're not capable of that. And I'm going to teach the team, the leadership team, to do a 30-minute interview, and it's real simple. 2 ears, 1 mouth. 20 minutes of the interview, not necessarily contiguous minutes, but of the total 30 minutes, somewhere 20 of those minutes are listening. Only 10 is talking. Because you're not really trying to get them to join you at that point. You're trying to see if they're going to fit in, if they're people like us. That's what you're looking for. And so, because how many of you have ever done an interview and when they walk in the door, you look at them and go, It was over before it started, Like, did bathing not come up? You really ought to wear that to an interview. That's just interesting. I mean, it's just, really? I mean, sweatpants? Come on. And, I'm just like, woof. So sometimes you've made a decision real quick, and that way you've only wasted 30 minutes if you promised yourself no more than 30 minutes. Do not go 31 minutes. Don't violate this. And it's real hardcore with us inside of our building. Our leaders are taught, we call this a cultural interview. Do a 30-minute cultural interview. Are they going to fit in? Are they going to be people like us? And we have a huge fallout there. We lose probably 90% of the candidates that we lose that actually make it to an interview in that initial, because we discover stuff that doesn't line up. And we're not going to do that. I don't want that in the building. I don't want that in the building. I don't want that in the building. And so we found out where crazy gets in the building. We've locked all the crazy doors. There's only one way in, and you got to go past the crazy detector, right? So it's just too much drama. So don't waste time doing a long interview. Use this to make sure the person's worth a deeper dive. You don't waste as much time interviewing, because if you do 5 or 6 or 7 interviews with somebody that hadn't got a chance and snowball's chance of joining the team anyway, then that was a complete waste of time. So go ahead and just, have you a little strong filter system right at the front, and if they make it past that, there's a high likelihood in our organization they're going to end up joining. They're going to go through the other interviews. We sometimes lose them down the line, but not that often. Check their resumes, check their references. Resumes are a joke. Basically, they're a conversation piece. People lie on them so much, or they twist them, or they spend so much time trying to figure out a way to not say something or say something and flower it up or whatever. It's a joke. I mean, where'd you go to school? What do you think about their football team? And it's a conversation piece, and just keep moving, and that's it. Obviously, if you're hiring someone and they have a technical skill they've got some of the technology certifications or something, we'd want to see that. Or you got a degree in accounting and you're going to be an accountant. That'd be handy to know, stuff like that. But basically, other than that, this idea you can figure out something from the resume, don't spend a lot of time on it. Figure it out by talking to them. Spend time with them. Look in their eyes. Feel what's going on in the air when they're talking about their spouse, about their kids. Feel what's talking about when they're moving from one community to another. Why? Why are they leaving that state? What's going on? How is that is that people like us? We use testing tools like assessments of all kinds. One thing we do on everyone is we run the old DISC model. I'm going to teach on that this afternoon, the DISC model, and it looks at personality styles. And again, none of these things are enough to rule you in or rule you out when you're joining our team. But what we're doing is we're trying to work through a process here that as you make it through different pieces of this, you're increasing probability. Now, the DISC, the high D is very driven, task-oriented. The C is very detailed. The I is a party looking for a place to happen. The S is very people-oriented, loyal, loving, that kind of thing. All right, so we'll get into that this afternoon. Spouses will be in here for that session as well later on. So the DISC, you want to look at that because you want to think, I'm a high D at work. When I'm on stage, I'm more of a high I. Okay, in this environment around people, I love people, but when I'm doing my stuff at work, I'm extremely task-oriented. I really don't give a crap about your feelings. I'm just getting it done. And so if they're perpendicular in the hiring process, a D is perpendicular from an S. And my wife is an SC and I'm a DI. So when we fight, it's when we get across there. So if I'm high D and she's high S, that's when we're going to fight. Because she's all worried about the people and I'm not at all. She's making decisions slow, I'm making decisions fast. And if you're a high D and you have a personal assistant that's a high S, she's going to cry every day. So you kind of want to know this going in, right? This is the kind of thing. And so when that comes up, you can talk about it. And she goes, no, I'm not. Or he goes, no, I'm not. I'm not going to cry. I may hit back. Well, then maybe this test is wrong. I don't know. But we'll look at this and try to figure out. And some people say, well, you have to be a high I to be a salesman. No, you don't. Some of my best salesmen are high Cs, particularly if you're selling something that's technical. And the high C is the detail person, right? So that there's no right or wrong answer. Now, you don't want a high I doing your accounting. That would not be good. So you do want to see on that. So you're kind of looking for some general direction there, but these things aren't catch-alls to where you go, oh, well, everything else looked good, but the assessment was off, so we can't hire them. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. This is just trying to give you an indicator. This is a general, are we moving north or are we moving south? That's all we're trying to figure out here, not the nuances of the street movement or whatever there. All right, ask yourself, do you like them? Do you like them? You're going to be working closely with them. The vast majority of you in here are working for businesses that are 50 people or less. You're going to be working closely, unless you've got people scattered all over the country, you're going to be working, and even then, you're going to be talking to them a lot. So you're going to spend a lot of your life with this person. Do you like them? By the way, you own the business. It could be just going, this person seems like they're skilled. I think they could do the job. They're just weird, And so, I heard Patty. I told you she's been working with me for 20 years. The lady, I'm a huge George W. Bush fan, and he had just gotten elected. And the lady before Patty that came in to interview, during the interview, I sat down with her because she's going to be my personal assistant. I need to interview her, obviously. Now, my personal assistant, as I told you, she knows everything about our lives. She books a lot of our life. She handles a lot of our life. She's, she knows what's happening with my kids, every little detail, right, of my life. And so this lady, I'm interviewing her, and I'm like, so what do you know about what we do? Well, I know you talk to people on the radio about getting out of debt. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And, of course, I'm sitting there in blue jeans and Crocs, and she's all dressed up. But she's in for an interview, so I'll give her a break. And so she's a little too buttoned up. And I'm just talking to her, and I can't get her to be a person. She's just trying to do the interview question thing. And I'm just like, come on, just talk to me. Tell me what's going on. I said, so what? Have you been through Financial Peace University? No. Is that required? No, it's not required. You'll go through it if you join, but it's not a prerequisite to join us. We don't only hire FPU grads. I said, well, what do you think about, or what do you know about what we do? Well, finally, she comes out of her skin and she goes, well, I know you help people that are having money trouble and poor people, and there's going to be a ton of money trouble and a ton of poor people because we've just elected this clown, George W. Bush. And now we have hired some Democrats, but not as my personal assistant. No, we're not. I mean, I'm not that political, but no, that's not going to work. Do you like them? I was walking through the other day, and there's actually a couple people that apparently used to go to the University of Florida, and we actually hired them. So, I mean, I don't know. We apparently hire anybody, but our screening system's just horrible. But there's a Dallas Cowboy fan in there somewhere. I mean, but yeah. So, I mean, you can have some fun with this, but the truth is I knew that based on the way she viewed that the way she views life was substantially different than the way I view life. It's not politics. It's just how she views life that led her to that conclusion. And it's way different than the way I view it. So she didn't need to be my personal assistant. She would not have had fun. And I would not have had fun. It wouldn't have worked. And so that was over right then. So do you like them? That's an okay thing. Somehow we feel like we're not given permission in a business we own to add people we want to add. It's okay to just say, no. It's a complete sentence. No, I don't like that. I'm not doing that. It's okay. You can do that. Now, you can't violate the law. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm saying you do need to like the people. They need to be, you're going to spend a lot of time with them. Number 7, look for passion. Do they light up when they talk about this? I mean, our favorite people to interview are people that say, man, EntreLeadership completely changed my business, and I'd like to be one of your executive coaches, or something like that. Those kinds of people, man, are people that say, I went through Financial Peace University. The favorite thing in the world for me would be able to join the team that puts Financial Peace University out. It changed my marriage. It saved my life. This and this. I paid off $200,000 worth of debt. They're jacked up. They're fired up. They light up at the idea. We had a lady apply the other day that's a recruiter at a big corporation here in town that shall remain unnamed because we've not hired her yet. She's going to be a great hire, though, an incredible hire. And she said, I have absolutely zero desire to work at anywhere in this town other than where I work right now, unless it's Ramsey. Because what you guys do has changed my life. And I would love to come over there and have recruit people to fill up the spots to help more people's lives get changed. And I'm like, that's who you get that one on board, yes. Review their personal budget. That sounds like a Dave Ramsey thing. No. This is a thing where, have you ever hired somebody that can't live on what you pay? And then you notice that you're greedy and you don't pay enough? You've mistreated them because they took a job that pays $50,000 a year and their bills are $75,000 a year. And they took the job knowing what the pay was, But then they tell everybody that they work with or all their friends that, like, you know, they don't pay very good over there. I'm not getting paid market. And they whine and they grumble about their income. It hasn't got anything to do with their income. It has to do with their outgo. And all of a sudden it gets transferred. It's your fault. Well, I got tired of that real quick, so we don't do that anymore. It's not a Dave Ramsey financial peace thing. It's like, I don't want to be the greedy jerk that underpaid you because you had overspent, like you were in Congress or something. So, we had a guy apply for a video editing position that we're paying $90,000 for, and he was currently making $150,000, and we're like, no. And we ran his bills out, and he needs like $130,000 to survive. So apparently video editing does not involve math, So he was going to take the job because he's all enthused about Ramsey, but he couldn't have paid his bills. And we weren't going to like raise him up. I mean, it wasn't we were underpaying. He's in a different area of the country and he's making better money and we're not paying that in this market. We don't need to pay that. We're paying fair. He's getting paid fair for where he is, but he can't live on 90. His bills are 120, 130. And so there's no chance I'm hiring that guy. Well, you mean you're turning down a guy that's telling it's up to him to be an adult? Listen, adults can't just change math. I'm an adult, so math doesn't count. Of course math counts. You still have to freaking live on what I pay you, or you're going to turn it on me. You're going to quit. You're going to take a job back at some other place, making enough to pay your stinking bills. So we're not doing that. So that's why we do that. We had one lady send in this very formal, she was a corporate chick, and she sent back a real nasty email and said, based on your inappropriate request for my personal financial information, I'm going to turn down the job, or I'm going to have to, formal language, to which when we read it, we're all like, people that talk like that don't even work here. So we just don't, you weren't going to fit in anyway. It's just crazy. So you want to go through compensation with them. You want to go through benefits with them. You want to look at that. You want to ask someone about the comp situation. Nick Saban gave me one of the best things, and I've stolen it. Last year, he was interviewed at EntreLeadership's Summit. If some of you were at that event we just did back in May, he said he tells his players in college that when the pro scouts come around, they're either going to be an and or a but. He said the kid runs a 4.0 40 or whatever. He runs, he can bench press whatever. He's got good hands, and he's got good character, and he's a leader in the locker room. Or but he beats his girlfriend, and he's been in jail twice for DUI. He said you're either going to be an and or a but, and you get to decide whether you're an and or a but. So make sure you're an and. So I reversed that and thought, when I'm hiring, what I'm looking for are people that have skills and they have character. People like us. Not but we have to tolerate their bull crap because they're so skilled and there's no labor out there and we can't get anything done and I'm panicked and I'm desperate and so I'm getting ready to get really stupid and fill my building with crazy people that I pay. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm not panicking. I'm going to chill. We're going to work our way through this. And it's painful, but there's other kinds of pain that I'm going to bring on if I'm not careful. Number 10, create a key results area. The key results area, the KRA. Again, the job description, what winning looks like. Number 11, go on a spousal dinner. Our final interview, if you join us, comes from my wife having a feeling. Proverbs says, who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain. My wife is a full-time mom for 35 years. My wife has a degree in home economics and child development. She is not a business person, but she is very wise and can smell a fraud a mile away. She has donkey antennae. She can detect a donkey that is dressed up like a thoroughbred faster than I can, way faster than I can. And so what we figured out early on in the first 40 people, until we got to 40 people, we did all the final spousal interviews. Dave and Sharon would go to dinner with you and your spouse if you were coming on the team. Nothing formal about it. We're just going to dinner and talk and tell you stories about us and ask stories about you and just learn about you. And it's the final interview of 5 or 6 or 7 interviews that we've done. And at dinner, people just get real. They just tell you the truth about stuff. And then we go home and we pray, and we say, God, what did we feel at dinner? And I get up the next morning and I ask Sharon, do you feel okay? I didn't ask her, did you think that's okay? I asked her how she felt. Because my wife is from the hills of East Tennessee. She says, I have a good feeling. It's a 7-syllable word. It's a feeling. And if she has a bad feeling and I go against it, it generally costs me in excess of 10 grand. She never misses. Pisses me off. She never misses. So I just don't do it. I don't even understand it sometimes. I'm like, they all look like Ken and Barbie to me. Everything looked perfect. She's got a bad feeling. And I'm just like, that's a trump card you can play. And let me tell you how many times she has played it. 2 in 30 years. 2 times. She said, these people they're not who they say they are. This feels weird. There's something wrong. Later it came out the guy's doing cocaine. Later it came out the guy's beating his wife. And she smelled it in the air, and I couldn't see it. But a virtuous woman doesn't play a trump card. A virtuous person doesn't play a trump card that keeps somebody from getting a job unless they're pretty dadgum sure. They're not throwing their weight around, okay? And so she doesn't like the power that we give her in this. And the spouses are often that way. So one of our leaders, if you're going to join our team to this day, and their spouse and you and your spouse will go on a dinner just to see if you like us after it's all said and done, if you're people like us. Are you going to fit in? Look for team members with a combination of philosophical and opportunistic motivation. If they like your philosophy but they don't see any opportunity, they're going to go bye-bye. If they like your opportunity but they don't understand your philosophy, they're going to go bye-bye. They're not going to make it. Yeah, so we're in Nashville where there's more Baptists than people. Everybody's a Christian, right? So I hired this lady one time, and she's quitting, and she's like, I just can't work here because I thought I was working for a man of God, and you're not. And I'm like, okay, and that's based on what? Well, you're all about the money, and I said, I noticed you didn't volunteer. You wanted to get paid. Who's all about the money? So we had this, that's why I quit doing exit interviews with stupid people. So, because I'm not leaving, so we might as well just not do an exit interview. So I'm still going to be here when we're done. So me and all my stuff. So never sell a job. Always have an opportunity available. Sell work that matters. If you're just trying to hire a transaction, they're going to leave on the next transaction. Looking for work that matters. We're on a crusade. Find your crusade. If the candidate's preoccupied by benefits and compensation, what's the hiring bonus? You're probably not going to keep them, guys. That's what it is. That's the real world. Getting the right folks on the right seat on the bus, right people on the bus, the right people on the right seats on the bus. Jim Collins talks about it in Good to Great. It is one of the key components of companies that are great. And it is the most difficult thing we do is around this issue. Getting the right people and keeping the right people it's 30 years of unbelievable angst and frustration and unbelievable reward. Some of my best friends on the planet are people that are on our team and that are fighting the fight beside us. They're warrior poets. They're right in there with us, and we're going for it, man. And it's my favorite part. And then sometimes they choose to go somewhere else, and it just makes me cry because I just love them. And they've been with me for 10 years. They've been with me for 15 years. And sometimes that happens. That's part of it. But the only other option is to just be a transactional corporate situation. And I think you have a brand advantage in the hiring situation when you're family-owned or when you're small business and family-owned, either one or both, because you can actually treat people like human beings instead of cattle. And when they go to work for one of these other places, you've been there, they treat you like cattle. You're a freaking number. And you're a process to be managed. No, these are people. Corporate America does not keep somebody 2 years during cancer treatments under any circumstances. But you do, and I do. We're the kind of people that do that if we can afford to do it. Corporate America doesn't take care of families when there's a flood and everybody stops work and goes over and cleans the guy's house out with him. But you do, and I do. These are the kind of people we are. We're small business people. These are people we love. And that's a brand advantage in hiring. You need to talk to them about that if you're competing, if they're looking at a corporate job or they're looking at a job with a real company like you guys. Because corporate America doesn't believe this. And by the way, corporate America will hire you and they'll fire you in about 37 seconds. One of these big towers that just popped up out here is Assyrian. They just announced 35% of their workforce gone. and they've been hiring like crazy, and everybody's been running over there. Big thing in Nashville. All the developers are running over there. We lost 4 to them. Now those guys are wanting to come back, and it's not going to work out. Not because I'm mad, but because you'll leave again for the same reason you left the first time. I've already figured out what you are. I just don't know the price yet. You know, that's the whole thing. So, oh my gosh. So, don't skip for a quick hire. I know it's painful. It's very real.